question brings to mind a little poem, or a little verse from a poem in English, which goes, "Our God and soldier, we are like a dog, just at the brink of ruin and not before." I think that's what the question brings to mind. At the brink of ruin will be the thing that galvanizes the leaders. Such an event would be cross-border, across a number of borders, be transnational, if you like, and of such magnitude that it threatens our way of life. We will likely to cooperate in dealing with such a matter. But we don't want to get there. That would be too awful to arrive at such a situation, or to even allow the situation to develop to that degree. And so what we require is leadership of our world leaders. And there are really two broad options that can be adopted. The answer lies somewhere between the two. It will never be precisely one end of this spectrum or the other. The first option is nationalism, protectionism, zero-sum politics, if you like, and the strongest takes everything. Well, there's not many countries in a position to think that's a good approach, because they're not strong enough. The alternative at the other end of the spectrum is to cooperate. And to cooperate, in the sense we're talking, is to reform our institutional structures, our global and regional structures, so that authorities and responsibilities for a particular issue lie in the same hands or at the same level. At the moment, too often, we give responsibility to one body, but without the authority to discharge that responsibility. Now, as I say, the answer will lie somewhere on a line between those two. It will not be precisely at one end or the other. I disagree, I challenge the assumption in your question that the Western Occidental states are necessarily the losers. We're not the losers yet. And the emerging powers, as you call them, are not, as I see it, stepping up to take on this challenge. So this is a game we are still firmly in, and in a position to make changes to advantage. What we can't do is dictate the change. We're going to have to bring the others with us. And it is in our interests to do that because we are not in a position to benefit from a zero-sum end of that line of possibilities I described. In short, we have an opportunity to create a situation to advantage, and we need to take it, in my opinion. I will answer the question in two parts. The first is structural or institutional. And we've touched on this already. Our institutions of governance make it appear that the people we vote as our leaders are able to discharge the responsibilities we've given them. But because of the changing nature of the world, they're no longer capable of doing that. As a state, you have to cooperate with other states in order to achieve your end that you want to achieve. The result is that we become disappointed with our politicians, who are claiming to be in charge and then are evidently not in charge of the circumstances that they find themselves in. So we don't trust them. They don't deliver on their promise. The second thing that needs to be addressed is, I would call it professional. As a general rule, our politicians are now professional politicians. They move from university into the think tanks and the party machine, and their whole life is being a politician. And their only way of progress within that political profession is to become elected. And they have increasingly in the last decades been approaching the business of electioneering rather on a basis of marketeering, and that they are appealing to the centre of the populace as they understand it, to garner the maximum number of votes. The result is, if we understand the bell curve of a distribution of people, nobody is attending to the tails, the edges. So naturally, the edges create their own parties. If it's in a coalition, then those parties become disproportionately powerful because they become the balance as to which party in the coalition. Alternatively, they create new ones, as has happened in Britain and so forth. That also leads to these politicians not being trusted because they are not actually representing the views of a number of people, although they're claiming to do so, and their own behaviour, because they are not part of the rest of society, they're becoming professional, a professional group within society, starts to become detached from society, and people don't trust them again.